Yo, welcome back to another edition of the Men Who Cry podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, review, tell a friend, 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 tell a friend. If you not do these things, I have to assume you wear sweatpants in the summertime. On today's edition, we are closing out the NBA season, talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder winning their very first, or technically second, depending on how you want to look at it, NBA championship. Before we get into the Thunder, we have to talk about what I think will be the bigger takeaway outside of, Oklahoma City. Congrats to them on winning the championship. But Tyrese Haliburton, if you watched the game, like most of you guys listening to this saw, he tore his Achilles. You could tell pretty immediately. It felt like the Aaron Rodgers one, the Kevin Durant one, where like you immediately just knew. It's very unfortunate that happened to him. He looked like he was having a start to a great game, and then unfortunately he tried pushing off, and it went on him. I think that this season was the best season I can remember from a player who didn't win any major awards, right? Tyrese Haliburton didn't make the All-Star team. He wasn't named. He was named an All-NBA. I'm pretty sure, yeah. He was named an All-NBA player, but if you look at it, a lot of guys might have just missed. You don't know if he would have made it if Kevin Durant made qualify for the games. The Pacers got off to a really tough start to the season. At one point, they were 10-15 in the first 25 games. And then them and the Thunder had the best records in the league from the start of 2025. I think it's the best season from a guy who didn't win any major awards or the championship, because you cannot say that guy isn't the star that stirs the drink, the straw that stirs the drink for the Indiana Pacers, a team that no one had going to the NBA Finals. I think a lot of people might have even thought that they could have lost to the Bucks in round one. I wasn't one of those people, but they eventually succumbed to the Thunder in a Game 7, which, again, they could have won if Haliburton stayed healthy. And now it's one of the hardest things, I think, in sports is while you get to the mountaintop and you can celebrate and you're there, and it's an amazing feeling, when you lose, especially a Game 7, the fall back down is so hard that it's always tough for a team to recover from. And not only that, they're going to have to go all next season without Haliburton now. So the conversation about him being, superstar or non-superstar has just gotten so lost. This guy clearly is one of the best players in the league, bar none. And he is a guy that gets everyone involved and lets everyone else cook. His bad games are just going to look worse than a James Harden bad game or a Damian Lillard bad game, because he's just not going to shoot the ball enough times for him to shoot his way out of it. He's always going to take the shot that he thinks is the best shot. And that there is some good with that. Like I said, he'll keep guys involved, things like that. But the bad is that he's just not a guy who's just going to get his in that kind of way. And you see a guy that took everything personally. Coming into the playoffs, they're calling him the most overrated player. He got no burn on Team USA over the summer. And last summer, I should say. And he used all of that, not all being an all-star, and got that team as far as they can without winning a championship. So kudos to him. The Pacers gave us one of the best runs that we can imagine to get all the way to the finals. And it was an enjoyable season for them and their fans. And I think while this loss hurts, it's something that they can potentially build on. The worst part about it is obviously Haliburton going down and him going to miss the whole season. We'll get more into how I feel about this affecting the East later on in the summer, just because it's the summer and we have pods to fill. But I definitely think it's something that the Pacers, while he's going to be out, I definitely don't think they're going to be some type of team that's going to lay down without their best player. Moving on to the champs, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the first championship in their NBA in their franchise's history, with, fingers crossed, the addition of the Supersonics. There can finally be a proper divorce of these two teams, and I really want to talk about Shai specifically for one reason. I was doing a little bit of research, and I was trying to figure out, was this the greatest single season an NBA player has had? I really wanted to see, was that actually a thing? So one of the ways I looked at it was I just started with PER, right? PER, for those who don't know, is basically your player efficiency rating. It takes all your stats, right? And they basically accumulate a number. And the higher your number is, the better it is, right? So, for example, in Steph Curry's MVP season, his second MVP season, the year that the Warriors went 7-3-9 and got to the NBA Finals, he posted a 31.4 PER. Now, PER isn't everything. It affects, if I'm about to go through the list a little bit, it affects, which guys can rebound a lot, just because there's a lot more, all stats are included in this. So there's a lot of centers that are going to be on this list is what I'm trying to get at. And Shai's season right now that he just had was tied for the 25th best season of all time. He's tied with 2000 Shaq, the 99-2000 Shaq season, with 30.6. All right. I'm just going to go through the list of the top 25 guys to make it. 24 was David Robinson in 93-94. LeBron, 11-12. Anthony Davis has a 30.9 season in 14-15. Giannis had a 30.9 season. Jokic, 23 season. LeBron, MJ, Embiid, Jordan again, Jokic, Embiid, Curry, Jokic, James, Wilt, Jordan, James, Jordan, Chamberlain, Giannis back-to-back, Jokic, Wilt Chamberlain, and Nikola Jokic has the highest PER for one season, the 2021-22 season. The reason why I say all that is not every single person on this list had a championship the year that they won it, right? So the years that we really have to look at in between, is this the greatest season that Shai had? One of them has to be Shaq. It's the 99-2000 season. He's the only guy that ties Shai in having finals MVP, the regular season MVP, the scoring championship, and won the championship that year at a 30.9 rating. LeBron is up there at 30.7. He's 0.1 higher than Shai in the 2011 and 12 season. That was the year that they lost to the Denver. No, I'm sorry. This is the year that they won the championship against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think that with the accolades that he has, because the only people on this list that won the title the year that they are on this list was Giannis in the 21-22 season. He is fourth all time with a 32.1 PER. The other season is LeBron that I just mentioned. There is another LeBron season here in the 2012-2013 season. That was the back-to-back championship. He's at 31-6. Did not win the scoring championship that year. But I would argue that is LeBron James's greatest season of all time. And obviously, Michael Jordan's on this list several times. I think for modern basketball fans, I think as fans go along, as we look at this list more expanded, I think that they will say that Shai had one of the 5 greatest seasons since 2000. I think it's right up there with any season that you have with Giannis, with Steph, with Jokic, and with LeBron. Especially the fact that while his team was so very good, and I think the thing about this is the fact that a lot of people do a lot of projections on this team just because of their age. Talk about the future of the team. But his team right now was so unproven, they never got into the conference finals, let alone the NBA finals with this group of guys. And they were down in the series against Denver with a chance to be down 3-1 in a series. And they were able to come back and not only win that series, but win the NBA championship. To have a guy to be like the 13th pick in the draft, you trade for it, you develop, and to have this kind of season speaks to the work of Sam Presti, who I think is the overarching number one storyline of this whole thing. I think Sam Presti for the longest time has been the best GM in basketball. And while he didn't have a ring to show for it, this guy made so many moves, so many interesting ways so many interesting pieces that he was able to put around the team. And you can argue is now the architect of two different types of basketball kind of ideas, right? The first run he had with the first Thunder's team, when it was Russ, KD, and Harden, he drafted all those guys. And he had all those guys for a while, but then he said, you know what? I can't afford to keep all these guys. This guy's not going to take the money that I think that he's going to get in James Harden. Kendrick Perkins has done a little bit of storytelling talking about how Team USA was one of the big reasons why Harden wanted to leave and really wanted to get a larger cut of the pie. So he was able to spin him off and just get kind of role players back. The version of that team was so good because it was already a big three, but the difference was that of all the big threes that they had outside of the Warriors' big three, which we will get to, he drafted all those guys, right? The Heat team, that was not all guys. They got Chris Bosh and LeBron James free agency. They were able to trade for Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett in Boston while they already had Paul Pierce. If you want to try to throw in the Pistons of 2003, 2004, all those guys were on the team prior to coming over, even though I would even argue they had a big three. It's really just the Warriors post that, and that's how the stuff kind of keeps going. And it's so remarkable that he was able to have that team, then have essentially go from those three guys to just KD and Russ, to then just have Russ, to then spin it off into having Russ and Paul George, to now essentially the version of the team that they have now. And this team, like I said before, he's got everyone in basketball trying to copy what he does, right? You got your three best guys. You want to have them at a certain age, and then basically you're just going to have role players and spin them off every single time that you need to upgrade around the team. But you just basically need to have those three guys in place. If you have your three guys in place, it doesn't necessarily have to be considered a quote-unquote big three per se, but it's a way for this stuff to go, right? And the fact that he's finally got the championship that I feel like he should have gotten years ago is an incredible testament to him and the patience that Oklahoma City has shown him and shown, that front office altogether. My biggest question about Oklahoma City now is going to be their own team dynamic, right? They can give Jalen Williams an extension this year, right? They're going to pay Shai his money and give him his extension, right? And let's see how much money that he wants. To me, the question about this is going to be for Chet. And the reason why I say this is because I don't know how good of an offensive player Chet Holmgren actually is. Now, that might sound offensive, but it's actually a testament to him and what he's willing to do for the team. There's only so many shots that are going to go around, right? You're not going to have 4 25-point game scorers. That's just not going to happen, right? Some guys are going to have to sacrifice because there's only one basketball. And does Chet want his career to be a version of what Chris Bosh was? I feel like a lot for the Heat team, right? Chris Bosh was an awesome player, okay? And he gets crapped on a lot for those Heat runs. But prior to joining the Heat, when he was on the Raptors, and post LeBron James being on the team, Chris Bosh is about a 24, 25-point per game scorer, right? It didn't last long because, one, in Toronto, the teams were very good. And then post-Toronto, his health just kind of forced him to retire. But he had so many more offensive skills that I think a lot of people didn't even know at the time he had. And if Chet keeps on this path, I can see him winning a Defensive Player of the Year award. I can see him, maybe sneaking into an all-star team just because they have so many wins, in the Western Conference that maybe that one year they just able to get 3 guys. But does he want his career to go like that? And I'm not saying this as a criticism of him. I'm saying this as a reality. People want to be able to sacrifice for the greater good, but people also want to get their own credit. And I just don't see a world where they can pay him the max and still keep, somewhat of a semblance of team around them, unless it really is Presti just saying, I'm just having rookie guys when we get to the point of paying all these guys around these dudes, guys on rookie contracts, and that's how we're going to play this out, right? And guys on vet minimums. Now, maybe that works. Maybe that's enough, and that's going to be all smooth sailings. But I just think that guy is the type of dude, and the way that he plays and the way that he talks is a guy who thinks that I can be the best player on a championship team. So that, to me, is the only thing that can actually break this grouping up. Will be, can they pay Chet? What would Chet be willing to take? And is he a guy that's going to be willing to take the first deal that Sam Presti offers him? Because, and again, this is why Sam Presti's a great GM. He could look at him dead in the face, said, "Y'all, you've missed over 100 games in your 4-year career here, or your 3-year career here. You played one full season. One season you completely missed, and this season you missed. He had to miss 30 or 40 games this season." He is a guy that can get hurt a lot and has already shown you in just the brief time he's been in the NBA, gets hurt a lot. And that's just going to be the balance of, that's why I don't think Presti would go to him and say, we're giving you the max. One, I don't think they can afford it. And two, you got to play games. I know they just won the championship, but you got to play in the games. So shout out to the Thunder. Let's see if they can keep this bad boy going. And shout out to Chris Paul. I'm going to shout out Bomani Jones, who listened to his podcast earlier, of him explaining how this Thunder team and this franchise has so much to do with Chris Paul's legacy. Because for those who don't know, during Hurricane Katrina, Chris Paul was drafted to the New Orleans Pelicans. But because of Katrina, they couldn't play in New Orleans. So what they did was they basically played in Oklahoma City for 2 seasons before eventually moving back to New Orleans and playing all their games out there. That gave the NBA the inkling or the thought to then move the Supersonics down and create the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that is just the start of the actual franchise coming there. And the second part on this, and this is the difference between what the Sixers did under Sam Hinkie and what the Thunder did under Sam Presti. The Thunder never tanked, per se. They were not so shameless in what they were doing. If you look at those times where the Thunder were bad, they were only bad for 2 years. One of the seasons that everyone thought they were going to be bad was the year after the pandemic it was the year before the pandemic. They were in the bubble, and then Chris Paul got traded to the Suns. But he was one of the worst contracts in the league. Daryl Morey said this was the worst contract in the NBA, right? And so they end up swapping Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook. And that's when they sent Paul George to the LA Clippers, and that's how they got back Shai. And that season, that one season where they had the 3 point guards, it was Schroeder, Chris Paul, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander all playing together with Billy Donovan, helped Shai get to the point where he is. There's a reason why Chris Paul came back to watch Shai get his MVP, right? There's the blessing of having Chris Paul in your locker room, a guy who's like, I'm not playing around. And so the fact that his fingerprints are all over the way this organization is currently, and the fact that they were even able to get into Oklahoma City in the first place, is a big credit to CP3 and what his legacy means outside of basketball. And it's a great testament to what Oklahoma City has done, in their time in the NBA. So congratulations to them. It's a wonderful accomplishment, and we'll see if they're able to repeat. Next, a little bit of news that we want to go through, because the NBA decided to just have all the news happen on one day. Kevin Durant was also traded, by the way. Kevin Durant was traded at Fanatics Fest. If you guys live in the New York City area or know anyone who does, Michael Rubin started this Fanatics Fest. I think this is year 3 of this, where basically it's like the Comic-Con for sports. LeBron James, Taylor Rooks, all these famous celebrities, a lot of content creators, a lot of sports people have shown up and shown out and really done a lot of impressive work at the Javits Center in New York. So Kevin Durant had a panel where he was talking, and lo and behold, he was traded. I don't think Kevin Durant was unaware that he was getting traded, but I definitely think his facial expressions made it look really, 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 really funny. I think that this was a great trade for Houston, just in the matter of fact of now they have not only a guy that fixed the thing that they wanted to do, was to be able to get buckets for them, but it's the ability to get off of Jalen Green. And I'm not saying this to pick on the young man, but what the NBA, the number one thing I think right now that you do not want in the NBA, it doesn't matter how much money is coming in, you do not want a bad contract on your books. And for as young as Jalen Green is, and as much as potential as he has, and he's a guy who plays a lot of games, he is looked at best as a poor asset. I don't want to, go ahead and say you have to put stuff to attach to get off Jalen Green, but he's a guy who I'm just very curious about where he's going to go and end up and where he's going to be going forward. And I don't necessarily think that he's an easy guy to trade. And while the Rockets were able to do that and get him over to Phoenix, you can clearly see the Suns had no leverage in this situation. I really think that Houston now is like a legitimate contender and can win the West next season. As we've seen before, as much as people want to love OKC, and I was just giving them flowers earlier, there is no guarantee that they are back in this position next season. We haven't had a champion not only repeat from the season prior, we haven't had a champion get out of round 2. And while we want to think Oklahoma City will buck that trend, there's a great possibility that they lose in round 2, if not round 3, as of next season, just because the parity in the league and how many teams are just gunning for things and injuries happen. Things happen so many different ways that this league is so crazy. But I really love what Houston did. They didn't really give up any of their major pieces. I think a lot of people want to look at Kevin Durant now as a little bit of a passport Brody, but they, to me, are a team that is going to be hellacious to play because they don't really have any bad defenders. They have a really good coach, and they now have a guy that can get you anywhere between 25 and 35 points in playoff games. And that's the biggest thing that's happened. You saw what happened, what did them in against Golden State in the playoffs this year. Their water just got shut off too many times. And if Steven Adams wasn't killing them on the offensive glass, or Jalen Green had one explosive game, they had no way to score. It was really just Fred VanVleet doing too much. And so I think this Houston Rockets team is definitely going to be a team to reckon with. Like I said, we'll talk about next year, but this is going to be the case for them going forward. For Durant, he to me, this is truly the crossroads of his career. I believe that this will be his last home. I don't think Kevin Durant will leave. I don't think Kevin Durant's going to go to another team. I think this team, especially with the reports that they are going to give him a contract extension, I would assume that they are going to give him an extension. That was the talk going into this trade deadline going into this dealing with Kevin Durant, was that someone's going to have to give him an extension. He's at a very interesting point of his career in the sense that he's done everything possible, right? He has his MVP, he has his scoring titles, he actually has his championships and his finals MVPs. The man has not been out of round 1 since Brooklyn with the toe on the line game. Out of round 1. He is a guy who, when we think about Kevin Durant, we are just going to think about how this guy is one of, if not the greatest scorer in the history of the game of basketball. And yet, he has so many detractors because of not only the stuff that he says online, but the fact that he has yet to be able to, it seems to be, lead a team to a title. One thing I would tell people a lot is when someone shows you who they are, you got to believe them, right? Kevin Durant's been telling you who he's been for pretty much his whole entire career. This guy is going to go out there, he's going to get his buckets, and he's going to go home and smoke some weed. I've been telling you that for 17 years now. And I'm so fascinated about where this goes because I can absolutely see him winning the championship in Houston and getting finals MVP once again. And I think that's something that not necessarily that he needs for his legacy per se. I think the legacy talk at this point is getting kind of it's getting kind of redundant with him. I think he just needs this for him. Because ever since he's left Golden State, the one decision that I think that he made, and I've said this before on this pod, Kevin Durant, I think, is truly the first athlete victim of social media, where he had all the success. Everything that happened to him in Golden State went well. They made the finals 3 times. Unfortunately, he popped his Achilles that last year. They made the finals 3 times. They won 2 titles, and he got the finals MVP 2 of those years. You could not have written that story to be any better. And yet, he has openly talked about how he felt miserable after the fact. And I just hope that this final place is a place where he finds peace. And he's able to do a lot of winning and get back into the playoffs. Because the playoffs are better when Kevin Durant's in the playoffs. He's truly one of the best players who ever played the game of basketball. And I think this is going to be an excellent spot for him going forward and be something that's going to be truly, truly, truly remarkable for him and his career. So we'll see how he goes. But Kevin Durant back in Texas for the first time since college, even though Texas University and Houston are not close at all. All right, last little bit that we're going to talk about before we head out for the rest of the week. A little bit of a surprising news, and we'll probably talk about this more if I'm ever able to get a music person on this pod. But Cardi B just announced that she's dropping her sophomore album. The sophomore album will be coming out in September of this year. This is, again, like I said, the first album since her first project, the Grammy Award-winning project that she has had out for a while. I'm trying to find the name as I scroll through. Yes, it is Am I the Drama? That is the question, coming out in September 19th. And anytime someone asks that question, the answer is probably yes. The reason why I'm bringing this up is twofold. One is there's already a report that the album sold 1.5 million copies, which made no sense because it's June and the album didn't come out yet, until you find out that she put her songs WAP and UP on the records. Now, this is some classic market manipulation. It's kind of disgusting that she put 2 songs on there that came out in the year 2020 on an album that's coming out in 2025. So do with that what you will. So the numbers might look a little funny at the end of the day. But here's what I'm going to say, and I'm actually going to give a little bit of credit to Cardi B. I have been a proponent for the longest time that Cardi B should never release music ever again. Meaning like a full-length album. And the reason why is because the longer you go when you beat someone's expectations, right, with her first project, not only being one of the breaded projects of that year, it won Best Rap Album at the Grammys. It is such a hill to climb for an artist that a lot of people don't believe can actually rap, right? Now, whether you think she writes her raps, she doesn't write all her raps, that's neither here nor there. You drop a classic, and her album is a classic. It will be such that you need to at least meet, if not exceed, that expectation, right? And I personally felt that that was something that she should just stay away from, right? You can eat off that, drop your singles every once in a while, do what Rihanna does, drop some songs for some movies and live your life. But I credit her for her actually doing this. To me, this shows the ability that you want to rap, right? You still have the passion for rap. And Cardi, is someone who has shown to be online all the time, knows what everyone's saying about her and how they feel about this next album. So I'm interested to see this and listen to this album. There's a long time between now and September 19th. So I'll be very interested to see who's on it, what little leaks and pieces we get out of it. But I am excited for her. And I think that we do not credit people in that creative space for knowing that there's so much pressure behind them and still pushing forward, say, no, I'm going to do this. This is what I want to do. And shout out to Cardi B, and we'll see if Stefon Diggs is on the album. Okay, thank you guys again for listening for the Men Who Cry podcast. Like I said before, make sure you like, subscribe, review, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. And I'll be back later this week talking a little bit of baseball. All right, guys, have a good rest of your day. Peace.